Have you tried turning it off and on again? I asked, keeping my tone steady as my older sister Caroline appeared on my screen mid-eyeroll during a video call. Don't patronize me, Lena, she snapped, flipping her blonde bob. I'm managing partner at Harlow East. I don't have time for tech one-liners. Just wave your IT wand and fix it. I glanced at the other monitor, where data simulations from my company's AI-driven threat detection system were running full throttle. It was the final stress test before launch. One contract alone would bring in nearly $3 billion, 0 cents. But to Caroline, I was still just her little sister with the laptop. I can't just fix it remotely unless I know what's wrong, I said, already feeling the headache build. She sighed like I'd asked her to solve world peace. The merger files for the Atria Systems acquisition are encrypted. No one on my team can open them. And I need those documents for the meeting in DC tomorrow. So, can you handle that? Or should I call actual IT? I froze. Atria Systems. I knew that name far too well. Send me the files, I said, though I already knew what I'd find. I'd help design the encryption protocols myself. See? Was that so hard? Caroline's voice was syrupy with sarcasm. Have my assistant send them over. Just do your tech magic or whatever. 10 minutes later, the files hit my inbox. Encrypted, signed by Atria's legal team. I knew every key and security string. They were based on the framework I created when Atria Systems started acquisition talks with Halcyon Core. My company. Done, I said, sending the decrypted files back without fanfare. You're a lifesaver, Caroline said without even looking at the screen. Even if all you do is tinker with code all day. I've got real work to do. Talk soon. The screen went black. I leaned back in my leather chair, sunlight spilling across the panoramic view of downtown Boston. From the 58th floor of the Halcyon Core building, the city shimmered below. On my desk sat the current issue of Wired. My name? Lena Tran splashed across the cover, beneath the headline, "The Quiet Architect of Tomorrow's Tech Empire." My phone buzzed. A message from legal. Mrs. Tran, the final paperwork for the Harlow and East Atria acquisition is ready for your signature. Will you be attending as CEO, or would you like the executive chair to represent you? I smiled. Tomorrow, Caroline would walk into that high-stakes merger meeting expecting to face Atria's execs. She had no idea she'd be shaking hands with me instead. Not as an IT girl, but as the founder and CEO of Halcyon Core. The $50 billion 0-cent tech powerhouse that just acquired the company her firm was desperately chasing. I opened the message and replied, "Alt, sign in person, let's make it memorable." For 10 years, I let her believe I was just a low-level IT tech. Through every family brunch, every dismissive smirk, every time she shoved her phone into my hands with a "fix this," like I was her personal geek squad. Remember when you tried to launch that app in college? Caroline laughed last Thanksgiving, swirling her wine. Thank God you stuck with a stable IT job. Not everyone's meant to be a founder. What she didn't know was that little app had become Halcyon Core, now one of the most powerful tech conglomerates in the world. While she climbed the ranks at Harlow East, flaunting her new corner office and designer handbags, I built an empire. Quietly, strategically, using my Vietnamese birth name, Thi Tran, in every major contract and board document. On paper, Lena didn't exist. Only tomorrow, in that conference room, would the dots finally connect. I picked up my phone and typed a message to legal. Confirm I'll be signing. Also ensure Caroline Ellis personally handles the closing documents. There was a knock at the door. "Miss Tran," my assistant said softly, "the board is ready for the pre-merger briefing." I stood and smoothed my charcoal gray Armani blazer. As I turned to leave, my eyes caught the framed photo on my shelf. Our family gathered last holiday. Caroline was front and center, flashing her signature confidence. I was off to the side, tucked into the background in a plain knit sweater. Tomorrow, all of that would change. She thought the CEO of Halcyon Core was a mystery man from overseas. In reality, the woman she called IT Girl was the very executive her firm had been courting for months. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't in proving people wrong immediately, it's letting them believe they're right, until they walk straight into the truth. That morning, I arrived at Halcyon Tower at 6 o'clock. I am 3 hours before the meeting. Boston was still cloaked in fog, and the skyscraper shimmered like something out of a dream. Maria, my executive assistant, greeted me in the private elevator with a folder of documents and my usual jasmine green tea. "Your sister called the main line 4 times last night," she said, trying not to laugh. "Wanted to speak to Mr. T.L. Tran directly, said it was urgent." "And?" I reminded her, "As you instructed that all communication must go through proper legal channels during an active merger." Her smiled. She must have loved that. She threatened to go through IT next. Said her sister works here and could help speed things up. I couldn't help it. I laughed. For a decade, I'd let the world underestimate me. Perfected the art of seeming forgettable. While Caroline bragged about litigation wins at cocktail parties, I quietly built Halcyon into a tech juggernaut. Our AI safeguarded 80% of Fortune 500 infrastructures. Our quantum division was rewriting what modern computing even meant. And tomorrow, when Caroline walked into that glass-walled conference room, expecting to face our legal team, she'd find me, the little sister she thought was running system updates, signing the final papers on a $47 billion 0-cents merger. And I wouldn't need to say a word. My name on that dotted line would say it all. But to my family, I was still just good with computers. At exactly 8:30 a.m., Maria returned to my office. "Harlow East's delegation is in the building," she said, adjusting the stack of papers in her arms. "Your sister is currently giving an impromptu lecture on merger etiquette to the junior associates in the lobby." I sighed and tapped my tablet. The live security feed popped up. There she was, Caroline Ellis, in her signature ivory pantsuit, perfectly poised, gesturing like a politician in a courtroom. Around her stood 5 nervous junior lawyers, nodding as she delivered one of her trademark monologues. Even without audio, I could read her lips. "Remember, we're meeting Halcyon Corp's CEO. This is the biggest tech acquisition of the year. Don't embarrass me." Typical Caroline, more focused on optics than substance. "Let's seat them in the Jade conference room," I said calmly. "I'll monitor from here until 9. The Jade Room wasn't just another meeting space. It was designed to unsettle. 60 stories above Boston's financial district, it had floor-to-ceiling smart glass walls that faded from opaque to crystal clear with a touch, offering a dizzying view of the city below. The long centerpiece table was carved from a single slab of Burmese jade, more expensive than Caroline's luxury condo. Through the feed, I watched them enter the room. Caroline, naturally, claimed the power seat across from the CEO's chair, always angling herself as an equal to whoever was at the top, never suspecting the top seat was already mine. At 8:55 a.m., I rose from my chair and adjusted my deep navy Tom Ford blazer. "Time to go be a CEO," I said, half to Maria, half to myself. Maria handed me the merger folder. "Final documents and—" she hesitated. "Your sister's internal performance reviews from Harlow and East." I raised an eyebrow. "She's been taking credit for her junior team's work," Maria explained. 3 formal complaints last quarter." "I thought you should know." That was Caroline, always rising by stepping on others. She'd done it to me for years, treated my work, my ideas, my identity like background noise. The walk to the Jade Room took 3 minutes. Just before I entered, I paused behind the frosted glass. Her voice came through, loud and clear. "The CEO is late, typical tech types, no regard for proper business protocol." I glanced at my Rolex. 8:59 IMM. The doors opened exactly at 9. I stepped in, flanked by my executive team. Caroline was mid-sentence, her back still turned, gesturing broadly. "Honestly, these tech CEOs think they're untouchable just because—" "Just because what, Caroline?" My voice sliced through the air like a scalpel. She froze, shoulders stiffening. Then she slowly turned, that practiced, condescending smile already forming on her face. the one she reserved for receptionists and waitstaff. And then our eyes met. The smile faltered, then vanished. Her expression fractured, first confusion, then disbelief. Her mouth opened, then closed. Shock, horror, realization. Lena. She said my name like a question, like it couldn't possibly be me. Her quiet sister in cardigans and ballet flats, the one who fixed computers. But I wasn't wearing cardigans anymore. I was wearing power, and the whole room knew it. If you've ever been underestimated by the people closest to you, hit subscribe. Because what happens next? Let's just say Caroline's about to learn exactly who she's been talking down to, and you won't want to miss it. She finally managed to whisper, "Lena?" I gave her a composed, professional smile as I took my seat at the head of the jade table directly across from her. "In this room," I said evenly, "it's Miss Tran, Miss Ellis." I flipped open the merger folder with a crisp snap. "Shall we begin?" The silence that followed was pierced only by the sharp clatter of her Mont Blanc fountain pen hitting the polished stone table. Caroline's confident facade had slipped, and the next 30 minutes were gloriously tense. While she sat stiffly in her chair, I walked the room through Halcyon Core's post-merger integration plan. I outlined our roadmap for quantum infrastructure expansion, laid out the multi-region AI deployment framework, and highlighted our ongoing partnership with the Department of Energy. Every technical term I used made Caroline's eye twitch. Every billion-dollar initiative I mentioned drained more color from her face. When I pulled up our global operations dashboard on the smart glass walls, turning them into a sweeping real-time display of our 212 worldwide installations, her expression collapsed into full-blown dread. Then I turned to her. "Now," I said, tapping a panel on the table. The glass walls shimmered, fading from display to full transparency, revealing a dizzying view of the Boston skyline from 60 floors up. "Let's discuss the concerning issues we've identified in Harlow and East's merger conduct." Caroline's head snapped up. "Concerning issues?" I nodded and pulled a slim tablet from the folder. "For instance, the matter of credit attribution in your preliminary filings. According to these documents, you personally conducted the technical review of Halcyon's AI stack." She swallowed visibly. I supervised the team that... "Interesting," I said, bringing up more files. "Because internal correspondence indicates that 3 of your junior associates completed the analysis. Associates who, coincidentally, filed complaints last month about being stripped of credit." Closer across the table, the other attorneys from her firm shifted in their seats. 2 avoided eye contact altogether. Caroline flushed crimson. That's an internal matter." "Not anymore," I said calmly. "Halcyon has a strict ethics protocol. Credit is earned, never taken." I paused, letting that settle. "In fact," I added with a quiet smile, "that's why I never told anyone who I was. I wanted to earn everything on merit, not family name, not expectations, just work." Real understanding flickered in her eyes. "All this time, when you said you worked in tech, I was building this company from my apartment floor," I said, "while you were joking about how I'd never make rent in Cambridge. While you were calling me to fix your email, I was developing the core defense systems used by 80% of the global banking sector." The only sound in the room was the quiet hum of the ventilation. "The merger can proceed," I said, shifting the conversation back to business, "but under several new conditions." I glanced at her colleagues before continuing. "First, full credit for the AI architecture review will be officially reassigned to the junior team who actually performed the work." I closed the folder softly. "That's how we do things at Halcyon. We reward integrity, and we never underestimate anyone, especially not the quiet ones." "Second," I said evenly, "Harlow and East will implement a comprehensive ethical oversight program with quarterly reporting directly to Halcyon's general counsel." I let the silence stretch just enough before continuing. "And third," I paused, locking eyes with her, "you, Miss Ellis, will be formally recused from any future dealings with Halcyon Core." Her eyes widened. "You can't do that," she burst out. "I'm the senior partner overseeing this merger." "Actually," I said, tapping my tablet. Instantly the clause appeared on every screen in the room. "As CEO of the acquiring company, not only can I already have." One of her fellow partners cleared his throat gently. "Caroline, perhaps we should—" "No," she stood, her voice rising, composure fracturing like glass under pressure. "This is outrageous." She turned toward me, eyes flashing. "You're my little sister. You fix computers. You can't just—" I stood too. My voice, when it came, was calm, but it cut through the room like a scalpel. "Ms. Ellis, this conference room records audio and video for legal compliance. Would you like to keep demonstrating why you're being removed from this process?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She dropped back into her seat, shoulders sinking, her power unraveling in front of everyone. I turned to her colleagues, professional and composed. "Shall we continue with the actual merger terms?" "With the team members who did the work and who will now be credited for it." The rest of the meeting took 3 more hours. No interruptions, no objections. Her junior associates, nervous at first, soon found their footing as I guided them through Halcyon's vision for a unified future. It was clear to everyone. The merger would move forward, but this time with the right names on the record. As the room began to clear, I closed my tablet and said, "Miss Ellis, a moment." She hesitated, then turned back, smaller than I'd ever seen her. I met her gaze and said quietly, "Next time you need tech support, please put in a formal ticket. Our help desk is far more efficient than your sister's private line." She didn't speak, just nodded once and left. That evening, I stood in my office, the city awash in golden light as the sun dipped behind the skyline. Maria came in carrying a stack of personal messages. "From your family," she said, placing them gently on my desk. Mom was stunned, Dad was proud, and Caroline? She'd sent one text. "I'm sorry. For everything, not just today, for all of it." I looked at my reflection in the tall window, no longer the girl they dismissed, ignored, or mocked. For years I'd fixed her computers and reset her passwords without ever once mentioning who I really was. But success? It was never about proving her wrong. It was about proving myself right. I picked up my phone and typed, "Next family dinner's at my place, top floor, Halcyon Tower. Dress appropriately. And Caroline, bring your junior associates. It's time they met the family." Because sometimes the best revenge isn't a dramatic reveal. It's reminding them who you are and showing them who they could be, if they stopped underestimating others. As night settled over the skyline, I smiled. She'd always told me to dream bigger. She just never expected I'd end up bigger than her dreams. If you've ever been underestimated, by family, by colleagues, by people who never saw your full worth, I see you. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. Remind the world that quiet strength is still strength. I built my empire in silence, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself right. Your dreams don't need permission. They need patience, grit, and the courage to keep going, even when no one's watching. So support those who rise quietly. Support those who lead without shouting. And if you're building something right now, keep building. I promise, they'll see it soon enough.